Welcome to the American History Past and Present podcast. I am Cody Bradfish, your host, and in our second episode, I have a special guest for those tuning in. I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to sit down with Mr. Ethan Shackelford, a teacher entering his 9th year, teaching at Oak Grove High School in Oak Grove, Missouri. In our conversation, he shared his favorite social studies topics, his inspiration for becoming a teacher, strategies for teachers and students to maintain a positive online reputation, and advice for new teachers entering the profession. Thank you for listening to the show. Remember to hit that subscribe button for exclusive content from the podcast, and we hope you enjoy our conversation with Mr. Shackelford. What is your name and what is your experience and education? Give us a little bit about your background.
My name's Ethan Shackelford. I currently teach social studies at the high school level at Oak Grove High School, which is in West Central Missouri, Jackson County, just outside the Kansas City metro area. I'm going in my 9th year teaching social studies. I've coached multiple other sports. In addition to being a teacher, been a head basketball coach or assistant basketball coach for 12 years. Got my education administration degree in 2021 through William Woods, focus in secondary administration. I've taught a lot of different schools, worked in Jeff City Public Schools for a year. Capital City first opened, so I got to see a brand new public school open for year one. So a lot of different experiences.
What led you to be a social studies teacher? What do you love about the subject? And do you have a favorite time period of history that you either love to learn about or love to teach?
Definitely got some favorites. I currently teach world history and psychology at Oak Grove. What I love about social studies is ability to, as a teacher, as a student, relate to people of the past, the stories of people, whether it's in American history or world history. There's a lot of lessons to learn as a citizen, as a person that's part of a community. And I think we live in a time now where I think social studies is incredibly important with the more exposure and world news and national news. And it's preparing people to be good citizens. The social studies content uses can really drive that forward, what being a good person is and where we come from as people and the good and bad of our history and the French Revolution. It's one of my favorite topics. It takes American Revolution and extreme of what revolution can be like. And people are hungry for change. Sometimes they don't always go along with it the best way possible. And sometimes change doesn't always work. It can really be a story that kids can gravitate towards because of some of the extreme things involved. And I've actually started teaching French Revolution through the Dark Knight Rises movie. Parallels between the French Revolution and Dark Knight Rises, characters who they symbolize, whether it's Napoleon or characters in the French Revolution or social class dynamics. Different events. There's 3 key events in Dark Knight Rises that are parallels to events that took place in the French Revolution. And I tell kids all the time who doesn't like watching Batman. It's entertaining, it's different, it's fun, and it's not a normal thing you experience in school. And so kids always remember that. I had a lot of teachers and coaches going back to my educational experiences as a student. A lot of influenced me to stick with my decision to be a teacher and a coach. But I can't talk about anyone being more influential than Dr. Star Nance at University of Central Missouri. She was an incredible mentor when it comes to my educational experiences. And I've worked with great teachers and administrators. All of those made me who I am today as a teacher and a coach.
When you think about using technology in the classroom, do you have a favorite lesson or activity that comes to mind where you were able to blend the content area and the curriculum with technology that really got students engaged?
Co-taught a lesson where we used Magic School AI to use as a fact checker resource, do some background research in corroborating certain things in a lesson. And so we're able to use AI to check the validity of resources we're using in our research to try to justify claims we're making in a lesson using AI for good. Sometimes as educators, we fight technology. I don't know if it's out of fear or lack of understanding, or if we're going to truly prepare students for the world they're going to live in, try to prepare them for the world that what's going to look like when they're my age, when they're 30 or 35 years old. We have to be forward thinking. I think being able to use AI in the classroom in certain ways that are appropriate, I think will help them, showing them how to use it in a healthy, beneficial way. And we use Edpuzzle to try to check for understanding. Obviously we use a lot of the Google stuff, but we use Google Forms and Google Sheets and doing formative assessment assessments to try to gain feedback from kids. But we're a one-to-one school. The challenge, I think, with technology is that there's so much out there to use and it's hard to master because there's so much. But I think as educators, we still have to try to be forward-thinking and challenge ourselves. And
what strategies or tips would you recommend for educators to help balance a positive online reputation regarding exercising their freedom of expression when sharing opinions or engaging in controversial discussions on digital platforms?
We obviously want to be able to express ourselves in a positive way, but there's a line there where our freedom of expression can turn others away. And so I think there's an appropriate way to express ourselves. And I think as teachers, if we can enable students to express themselves in a positive way in class, be listeners and be open-minded to other people's opinions and not rush to, when we hear someone else's opinion, rush to defend our own opinion against theirs, but be open-minded. That's a skill that if you can practice that in the classroom in person, you can use that skill when it comes to your social media usage. Social media, everyone has a voice, but the issue is that everyone sees what you put. Getting young people to understand that at an earlier age can protect them from maybe making a mistake. Privacy is huge. Confidentiality is huge. So when it comes to teachers, we have so much information that we have to protect. And if we don't, it could really jeopardize us as an employee or jeopardize the school district as an entity. When I post something, I post it to represent for myself, my family, church, your school. Your words are going to have attachments to all those too. So if you post something that is maybe insensitive, maybe it's not illegal or wrong, those things have attachments to them. So understanding the weight of that, I think, as an individual, whether you're a teacher or a student, is going to be really, really important in the decade moving forward.
In your classroom, how do you try to educate students on maintaining a positive online reputation and just protecting their information as they use technology?
There's ways you can model that in the classroom. Question I post on Google Classroom that they have to respond to. Those comments I can keep private, or I can model what social media can do, which is to make comments public. Everyone can see them. Anyone can respond to them. I like doing that. And sometimes it's uncomfortable for me to hold discussion with kids, to put them in that mindset of, I'm going to respond, but I'm not going to respond and one person's going to read it. Everyone in this room is going to read it. It's going to be on the board. I'm going to have the spotlight put on me and I might have to defend myself. I think what that models, what I said earlier, don't attack someone else's opinions by trying to defend yours, but also puts pressure on students sometimes to be careful what they say. You don't want to answer poorly in front of fellow students and then be embarrassed in what you put and stuff. So, but I think it's something that we have to do at least some to try to get them to feel what you might feel posting on social media. I think it's a good practice, a good model for them to experience.
What advice would you give to new or incoming teachers regarding the educational profession?
I think the secret to becoming a decent teacher is sticking with it. The statistics on how many teachers get out of the profession in 3 to 5 years, it's staggering. And the difference between effective teachers and the ineffective teachers that can manage their classroom and connect with kids. And I think as a person, I think the two things that those relate to are holding kids accountable and having some personality. What helps me sleep better at night year 9 than I did probably year 1 is I don't take a lot of those challenges home with me. And what I mean by that is I handle those situations better in the moment and I don't let things bother me as much. I've learned that the better I handle situations in the moment, usually with accountability with students, just the better I felt when I left school. That's probably the best advice I can give to an incoming teacher.
That wraps up this week's episode of the American History Past and Present podcast. Thank you to Mr. Ethan Shackelford for sharing engaging resources and strategies for teachers to model digital ethics to help students develop a positive online reputation. If you enjoyed today's discussion, please subscribe to our podcast on our YouTube channel at AHPP Podcast and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us improve and reach more listeners like you. You can also connect with us on X by searching and following at Coach Bradfish or via email at coachbradfish@gmail.com to continue the conversation or suggest future topics you would like us to explore. In subsequent episodes, we plan to sit down with other social studies teachers to share outstanding lessons, resources, and strategies that other teachers around the globe can use. Until next time, remember to keep exploring how history shapes our world today. Thanks for listening.